Sandra West, the beautiful millionaire who was buried inside her Ferrari. In the Alamo Masonic Cemetery in San Antonio, Texas, there is a small and overly inconspicuous headstone that reads, Sandra West, 1939 to 1977. If one day an earthquake or other force of nature were to shake the ground, what a few centimeters would emerge under the thin layer of grass and earth that surrounds it would not be a coffin, but a concrete surface of a length and width somewhat greater than that of a parking space. It was not put there to prevent rainwater seepage, but because the deceased herself who lies below asked to be buried inside a Ferrari 330 America and did not want anyone around to sniff the car in the future and interrupt her rest. Sandra West's life turned out to be rather brief and full of glitz. It was the typical case of a beautiful woman who marries a tycoon, in this case of the oil that abounds in the west of the state of Texas. They lived in Beverly Hills, they had jewelry, cars, whims, everything that is usually attributed to billionaires. But a life that seemed so perfect in reality was not. Ike West Jr., her husband, died in 1968 when he was only 34 years old, leaving her a widow at just 29. Sandra's stability crumbled. Perhaps because she felt a very deep love for her husband, a psychological report that came to light talks about how she became a psychotic with a tendency towards paranoia and hallucination. And it's a bad combination of being depressed, having tons of free time, and a bunch of prescription drugs on your bedside table. But no, it wasn't a Marilyn Monroe-esque overdose that took Sandra to the other world on March 10, 1977, but the serious aftermath of a traffic accident he had suffered a year earlier. It is seen that when you are a multimillionaire you always have your lawyers behind you reminding you of the need to leave a written will, and Sandra West he did not ignore it. Beyond the typical stipulations about the heirs, she left everything to her brother-in-law. The most surprising thing is that she asked to be buried next to her husband's grave inside one of his 3 Ferraris, with her at the wheel and the seat dejected. If you're going to be like this for eternity, unless you're comfortable. In addition, she had to wear her favorite underwear and indicated the selection of her jewels that should give more glamour to the body. To complicate it further, the car had to be inside a wooden box, lest its precious bodywork deteriorate with the earth and with the layer of cement that it requested on top to avoid curious and nosy people. The newspapers of the time speak that some family members felt anxiety because the funeral got out of control. More than 300 onlookers with nothing to do with the family came to see the spectacle of how a crane put the box with the car and the eccentric deceased in the huge hole. The story was never forgotten and curious people still come to the cemetery today to see and photograph the place where Sandra rests in her Ferrari. Who knows if in many centuries there will be a kind of Indiana Jones who decides to desecrate the tomb in search of the Ferrari, as if it were the treasure of an Egyptian pharaoh. We have reached the end of this video. Subscribe and activate the bell, comment and like. Thank you.